Hey, what's going on, Will? Hopefully you're doing okay, feeling okay, getting some good rest. I actually already recorded this video, but I had some interruptions. I got my boy here. I've been working all day long and he's getting antsy. So I went ahead and started from the beginning because I wanted to, I've got sort of a new format for how the videos are working, and it's going very, very well. I didn't expect it to be as fast as it is. So I actually wanted to give it another go with that in mind, and it just kind of like get it together better. So what we're going to be talking about is some server side stuff, and we're going to be talking about moving away from GoDaddy and going to DigitalOcean. So let me just go ahead and dive into those notes. And if he comes to the door, like I said, I've been working all day long, and so he's kind of antsy, but nature of the beast, if you will. So without further ado, let's dive into this stuff.
And her goal is not in her. She's a diamond under her.
Okay, we're gonna pull up the notes here. Now, I was going to let you watch over my shoulder while I did some of this stuff, while I worked on some of this stuff, sort of doing a mock migration, moving, the current host is InMotion, where I have the new website being built, and I was gonna go ahead and move that project over to DigitalOcean. So I'm working on that behind the scenes. So let me just go ahead and tell you, this is some deep stuff. This is really deep stuff. Server-side stuff is super deep. So, long story short, if you ever hear me say server-side stuff, that's just stuff that belongs in my wheelhouse. It takes so much energy to get it into anyone else's wheelhouse. It's just, imagine me off in my little submarine out in the deep, This is deep stuff. And that's actually why I decided to start over and make this video again, because the new format is working so well that I was able to get through this deep stuff like really quickly. But I had some interruptions, and I just wanted to give it another go with all that in mind, knowing that the new format's working so well. So anyways, server-side stuff. If I ever say anything server-side stuff, just say, okay, got it. The other thing I wanted to get across in the previous recording of this same exact video, I was down here in section 2, and I wanted to stop and just blatantly come out and ask for mercy one more time. I know that you now have this massive understanding of how many different things that I juggle, whether it's Facebook, or it's AdWords, or it's Google Analytics, or it's SEO, or it's WordPress, web design, server-side stuff, and even getting into some grassroots marketing and helping with brick and mortar stuff. Whether it's HR, Indeed, optimizing, all this different crazy stuff. I just wanted to come out, one last time. I've tried to gently show how many things that I have to juggle, and that each thing has its own timeline for maturing that is just under the radar. It's not surface level stuff that you can just look at and say, okay, this is how it's going. You know what I mean? And I know that you know all of this stuff now, finally, but like I've mentioned in the digital transition series of videos, you're gonna have to play blocker moving forward, because I just don't have enough time. I've got so much to do and so much to worry about, and when we start making changes, there's going to be feedback and stuff. So it's just like, I just wanted to come out with it one last time and say that the stuff that I work on takes so much time and is so resource intensive upstairs, if you will, that I just can't, it's difficult for me to convey how difficult what I do is. And okay, that's it. So let's get into this. Server-side stuff. Thesis statement here. Taking control of your server is like taking control of your car. You can search for, or in this case, build your car/server for your needs. Hot point. All of this is TLDR for you're getting a solid piece of land and a fast car for a great price. So TLDR means too long didn't read. And you're getting a solid piece of land basically means like, you're going to be building all of this infrastructure and sales funnel on top of this whole WordPress deal. You want a solid piece of land. You want something that's been built with love. And the other thing is like a fast car. You want your hosting and your website in general to be fast, because it might take 3 seconds for your website to load for a prospective customer, a new customer, the first time they visit. But if it takes it's been a long time since I've looked this up, but if it takes 7 seconds or more, it affects your CRO, conversion rate optimization. So something like 7 seconds or more affects 30% of your visitors will just leave because it took too long for your website to load. When you're thinking in masses of traffic, tens of thousands of visitors or hundreds of thousands of visitors a month, people will wait around for a website for 3 seconds, but they won't wait for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So site speed is very important for conversion rates. For a great price. Okay, so we'll get into the price at the very end. So section 1, the difference. Companies like GoDaddy and HostGator are what you might consider retail level providers. Companies like InMotion, so I myself am moving away from InMotion. That's where the new website is being built, and that's where my hobby projects get built. I myself am moving away from InMotion. So companies like InMotion and Namecheap are what you might consider wholesale level providers. Companies like DigitalOcean and Vultr are what you might consider manufacturer level providers. So we're talking about moving to DigitalOcean, a manufacturer level provider. Beyond that are companies like AWS, which is Amazon, Azure, which is Microsoft, and Google Cloud, which is obviously Google. These companies could be thought of as manufacturer level providers who supply their own parts in-house. So you take GM, they just put a car together and they sell it as American made, when really the individual parts are actually outsourced. So, whatever part or component is built over in wherever land in a different country, and then they ship it in, and then they put the car together that way, and it's American made. So basically, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud are the top dogs, and they just have access to so many resources, so many different levels of training. There aren't really, I'm going to be doing a lot of training on server-side stuff. There's going to be maybe 1 or 2 video courses that I do on DigitalOcean. Might be $10 for one video course. But certifications, I'm going to be doing stuff for AWS, maybe Azure and Google Cloud, I don't know. But doing this stuff is basically going to teach me everything I need to know about all kinds of different stuff. And it could be relevant, it's relevant now, but it's also going to become relevant for scaling. So a big thing on the server side stuff is scaling. So as we require more resources, we're going to have to scale. So taking some training and getting some certifications with these guys is going to teach me everything I need to know out here in this deep sea server side world. Okay, moving on to the next hot point. Companies like GoDaddy can afford to charge very low prices because their servers are shared. Shared is bad. Servers are made up of hardware resources that make them tick. Things like RAM and CPU, just like you have in your computer. A server is a computer made up of RAM and CPU and disk space. this means, so it's shared over at GoDaddy and HostGator. It's shared hosting. This means you share resources on a server with everyone else on that server. Companies like GoDaddy have private and dedicated servers, but they're a combination of pricey and faulty. Another negative is that they want to charge you for every little thing they can. GoDaddy wants to charge you for emails, WordPress support, SSLs, and much more. Anytime you message them for support, they will try and find a way to charge you. I've actually worked for companies like this. So they're going to be like a data center type of call center type of deal where not only are they working on commission, but the floor runs all these contests and games where you can win like flat screen TVs and stuff like that. I've actually worked for a couple companies like that. Oftentimes I got first place, aced all my logic tests and different things like that. One company I worked for, I actually broke the company. I wrote this script that optimized my job and made my life easier, and my manager saw over my shoulder the script, like she saw it running, and she was like, hey, you should submit that to the higher ups. The higher ups actually asked me to present how it would benefit the company if we were to implement it company wide. And this is a massive company. It's owned by an umbrella mega corporation. That's how call centers and data centers are. They really scaled out. So anyways, they implemented this script that I wrote, and the next day all the managers were going crazy how we had the best metrics, we had the best stuff. I broke the company. I set the bar so high that they're gonna have to figure out where the bar goes. And I actually, I never got any of my gift cards. I never got any of my recognition for any of that different stuff. They're sleazy type of companies. So that's the kind of company you're dealing with when you're going with GoDaddy. I mean, that's a big thing that needs to go onto my resume. They implemented it everywhere, and all the managers were going crazy about how, they couldn't even get a read on anything anymore because it just broke all the main metrics. Okay, so let me just move on. Quit bragging about myself. So, by taking control of your car hosting, you can not only pick your car and price you're willing to pay, but you can also pick your mechanic, your fluids, and so on. You have control instead of GoDaddy trying to bully you into little compartmentalized bullcrap. Section 2, components, hot point. So, outside of analogies, what's actually involved? Well, there's a lot. I've listed some terms below in a nutshell. We're talking about site speed, reliability, access, and price. If we use price as an important factor, then a good comparison would be the following. Using GoDaddy is like scraping the barrel, whereas using DigitalOcean is like purchasing a perfect piece of produce. You know exactly what you're getting, what's in it, where it came from, and you can count on it to be the same every time. Before I list some terms for you, I wanted to type out in what order they are built upon one another. You could think of this like building a house's foundation from the dirt up, see below. So like I said, I was gonna show you how this stuff is built. It's really complicated, it takes a ton of time. You have to use a bunch of different crazy stuff. You have to use like command prompts and different programming nonsense and different all kinds of different crap that just is terrible. So I'm gonna save you from that. I was gonna quote unquote let you look over my shoulder, but I'm gonna go ahead and save you from that. And we're just gonna blast through the rest of these notes and be done. And like I mentioned, this is really deep stuff. So this could have easily been a 2-hour video, 2.5 hours if I had you look over my shoulder. So this is how it's built from the bottom up. This is the bottom, and then we're gonna work our way up. So at the bottom you have your server. So your server is an actual piece of hardware. It's a computer made up of resources like RAM and CPU and disk space. On top of that, you have your operating system. So like your operating system on your computer is Windows. Or if you have a Mac at home, it's Macintosh. So our OS in our case is Linux based, and specifically it's CentOS. So instead of being Windows, it's CentOS. Moving up the ladder, we've got WHM, which is used to allocate resources and perform administrative functions without SSH. And then you have cPanel on top of WHM, used to communicate with the server and install/use applications without SSH. So these guys give you a platform to communicate with the server and its OS with a UI, a user interface. So this is what this stuff here is what gives you all kinds of buttons and applications and point and click type stuff to engage with this server and its operating system. Otherwise, you're going to be communicating with the server via SSH and doing everything with a command prompt. So you can't see anything you're doing, you're just using a command prompt. So moving on. On top of the cPanel is WordPress, which is a CMS, content management system, allowing website building without knowing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. On top of the WordPress is themes. We have a theme installed on the new site, and on the old site. We have a theme installed, but we do not use its front-end design. We don't use the cookie cutter design. We just use its basic code. We don't use the cookie cutter design. We use Elementor Canvas. So Elementor Canvas is basically just the attribute. It's just called Elementor. This gives each page/post in WordPress a clean blank design, wherein which Elementor is used to drag and drop design the site from scratch. Okay, so moving on. Other terms involved: HDD, hard disk drive. This is cheap disk space where files are stored like a memory stick, often used in shared hosting plans. It's cheap. SSD, the alternative, solid state drive. This is high quality, fast disk space where files are stored. SSH, secure shell, used to communicate with the server using a command prompt interface. SSL, security certificate. This signifies to search engines and browsers that your website is safe for people to use. So, you know how our bounce rate is it's in a bad place. It's hard to describe. Anyways, an SSL, we currently do not have an SSL right now. And that's bad because it's a potentiality that a lot of new website visitors, prospective clientele, are coming to the website, and they are probably seeing a big error message that comes up and says, you might have seen it before, this website is not secure, would you like to go back to safety? And you have to do a bunch of click arounds to actually get through the website. So it's quite likely that a lot of new website visitors are seeing that. So once we do have an SSL with the new website, we're going to see conversion rates go up. So, like I mentioned, have mercy. There's a lot of stuff in my wheelhouse. There's one little thing, an SSL could really, really impact conversion rates. Moving on. Professional email. So, you think will.ceo@animaldenindy.com. You think about our B2B connections. They do not like to see emails coming from Gmail. I've actually talked about that on the phone with people. I don't know if it was a TAD call. I might have heard it in a TAD call. I'm not sure. you don't want to be doing Gmail stuff. It's very unprofessional. It almost always sends a red flag with B2B stuff. So other companies are going to look at you and be like, why are you using Gmail? It's very unprofessional. So you want a professional email. Okay, so we're coming to the final section here. Wrapping it up. Section 3, resources versus costs. See, I'm loving this new format with the hot points and how everything's really condensed. Thesis statement here, and everything's done in sections now. Like I said, this is really deep stuff, so it could have been a two and a half hour video easily, but we're really improving the video format, so always upward and onward with us. Resources versus cost. So we're comparing GoDaddy and DigitalOcean. So GoDaddy is $180, and they're a terribly manipulative company. Like, I had to actually go in and pull up the receipts to find out how much we were paying. Like, they won't show it. They won't advertise to let you know how much you're paying. They just want you to be lost. So I'm not going to keep stressing that. I'm sure you get my point on that. They're just a terribly manipulative company. Like a check cashing company. Give me just a second. Sorry about that. Like I said, I've been working all day long, so he's getting antsy. And it's about his bedtime. I've just been working all day long. We're wrapping up here. It's only been 20 minutes. It's just crazy. $180, shared HHD. So not only do you have to share your resources with everyone, but you're on an HDD, which is slow. That's slow disk space. It's cheap. Your resources currently are 2 CPU, 2 gigabytes of RAM. So this stuff affects your speed and your reliability and how good the resources that your website's built on are. And so here's another weird manipulative thing. So they don't give you an actual allotment of hard disk drive. So they don't tell you how much memory you get. They actually do an inode cap at 250,000 files. And when you set up email, an email is an actual file. So this 250,000 could fill up very quickly. You could have 250,000 files and it only equate to a gigabyte, which is nothing. So it's like, that's a weird, manipulative, shifty, shady thing to do. Is they're not telling you how much disk space you actually have. They're just going to do what's called an inode cap at 250,000 files. Not good. Another weird, shifty thing is good for quote-unquote moderate amounts of web traffic, whatever that means. I won't keep stressing it. We'll just keep moving on. The one good thing is free cPanel. But you know what? It's not free. It's baked into the price. And the reason they're able to give you such a cheap price is because you're getting crap. I mean, like, I'm being honest with you. It's bottom barrel stuff. So here's prices for some other stuff. This is what they want to charge you for everything else. And we're going to have to make some of these changes. We're going to have some of this stuff moving forward. We can't go without it because we're going to need that SSL to get those conversion rates to go up. We got to have a secure site. And we're going to have to start using professional emails. We cannot use Gmail. That's not okay. So we're going to be doing some of this math together, and then we're done. So let me just run over this stuff, and then we'll do this together. GoDaddy bare bottom cost moving forward with no changes to amount of resources. So we won't be changing this guy, but we're going to be adding some of this stuff. We have to add some of it moving forward. So if we stick with GoDaddy, we're still going to have to change some of this stuff. So let's add it up. So we've got, just so we can keep an eye on it, and we'll add the 180 in last because, like it says down here, we're not going to be changing any of the resources. So we're not going to make it any better. We're just going to add a couple things. So this is like a worst case scenario if we do nothing. We just add a couple of things that we need moving forward. It's not going to be good. So you got SSL. Let's just look it over. SSL, $64 to $136 annually. Cannot do yourself. They control the server side. So we don't have, with GoDaddy, we don't have any control over the server side. I cannot get us. SSLs are free. SSLs are free. And I have no idea why they have 3 different levels of SSL. They've got one that's $64. They got one that's like $80. And they got one that's like $136. That makes no sense to me. I don't even know why. So it's just another weird. That's how. I mean, I know why, from a business intelligence perspective, I know why. But from an IT perspective, I don't know why. But it's so that they can rope you in. Either you're a $136 goon or you're a $64 goon. Which, you know, how can we rip you off? Because the things are free regardless. And then moving on down to security. You can see my mouse right out here on this black background. Security, $6 to $24 monthly. Backups, $35 to $96 annually. WordPress support, $50 to $150 monthly. Excuse me, security was monthly if I didn't say that correctly. And then email, $5 to $15 per user monthly. So each email costs between $5 and $15. That's crazy. That's gonna blow you out of the water. Just watch. So I can do without the security. I can do that on the WordPress side of things. I can do the backups on the WordPress side of things. And I am the WordPress support. So these 3 things you don't have to worry about paying. But SSL, you're gonna have to at least pay that $64, and I'm sure they have some kind of limitation automatically instilled upon it, so you have to bump up to the $136 annually. But we'll do $64 annually because this email is gonna blow your mind. So we're gonna need at least a bucket of 10 emails, because you're gonna need an email, Mel's gonna need an email, I'm gonna need an email, Troy's gonna need an email, front desk is gonna need an email. That's 5 there. I'm gonna need a no reply email for when we start doing MailChimp, autoresponder, email swipe type stuff. We're gonna have to have like a business development email, and then I might need like 1 or 2 more like tech type emails. You know, one of them's gonna have to be a contact email. So we're gonna need at least 10 emails is a pretty safe estimate on how many emails we're actually gonna need. So if we do $5 a user, $5 per email monthly. So we're looking at, let's just do, I already know that it's $600. So it's going to be $600 annually just for your friggin' email. And by the way, just, you know, spoiler alert, emails are free. $600 annually for 10 emails. You kidding me? And then your SSL, $64 annually. They're free. And then your $180 bottom barrel hosting. $844 annually. So even if we figure out some kind of email trickery, it's gonna be at least, you know, $15 times 12. That's $180. So I mean, it's like 180 plus 200 plus 64. I mean, it's just $450 if we got really, really lucky, which wouldn't happen. We're gonna need those 10 emails, and they're gonna charge us for every one because it's the type of company they are. And it doesn't matter if we got lucky somehow and we got the ones that we have by some trickery or voodoo or whatever it is. It's not good. GoDaddy is not where we need to be. So this is something crazy like $800. I forget what it was. It was like $863. it was $600 for the 10 emails for the year, plus $180 for bottom barrel hosting, plus $64 for the SSL, which is probably going to come back and they're going to be like, well, the $64 won't work for you guys. It'll be $136. So $844. Whereas with DigitalOcean, and we're wrapping up here. Whereas with DigitalOcean, $480 for the actual server resources. They were working on an annual plan discount way to do it, but they just haven't figured it out yet. So there's no discount, unfortunately. But the reason it's $480 over this $180 is because we're talking about, this is my recommendation of moving upward. We want better resources. So it's like comparing a Ferrari Enzo. Well, it's like comparing a Corvette to an Alero, an Oldsmobile Alero. Just so you know, I'm not comparing like packages. I'm comparing where we're at now and what we're going to incur, and I'm comparing it to my suggestion. So DigitalOcean, $480 annually. It's private, so we don't have to share anything, and it's SSD, so it's fast. It's not cheap disk space. We're getting 4 CPU, whereas we had 2 CPU. We're getting 8 gigabytes of RAM, whereas we only had 2 gigabytes of RAM. There's no inode cap. We do have an issuance of 160 gigabytes SSD, which is super fast. I mean, that's expensive. Well, it's not expensive. It is if you're building a computer. Expensive wasn't the right word to use, but this is high quality, high grade stuff. And then 5 terabyte transfer data monthly. So you don't have this weird moderate limbo word that's making you think, oh, well, it's not bad, but is it good enough? And then SSL is free, security free, backups free, WordPress support free, emails are all free. And then the cPanel, though, we don't get a free cPanel. The cPanel is $10 to $15 monthly, but that's what allows us to create all those free emails and do all kinds of other crazy voodoo. So there's the comparison, and I really don't think that I have anything else for you. So basically, we're going to be moving to DigitalOcean. We're going to be hopping into that Corvette, but we're going to end up saving a lot of money, because even with, even if we somehow, we just worked with Gmail emails or whatever, it's still going to end up costing us, because we're going to have to buy a couple more. It's still going to come out to be $400, because we're going to have to get that SSL certificate, and it's just, we need to move here. We just do. Especially, we're thinking about growing. That's what the server-side stuff is about. It's growing. So we need more resources. We got to have the SSL certificate installed and working at all times. We need to be using professional emails. We need the ability to create emails on a dime without having to worry about signing up and purchasing a new product for it. You know what I mean? Let's say Troy decides he wants to get back into nursing. I think it's what he was doing. Not nursing, or something in the healthcare field. Say he wants to go do something, we got to bring somebody else on board. Or say we need a new email for whatever reason. We're going to be creating emails every quarter. It's going to happen. So we need DigitalOcean's freedom, and we need their power we need their speed, and their price is good, I promise you. So that's where we're going to be moving when everything's all said and done. Our website, we're not going to be doing business with GoDaddy anymore. We'll have our domain names still there, because they're a registrar. I wouldn't recommend them, but at the same time, like, it's not as big of a concern as hosting is. So that's it. That's all I got for you. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
And her gold is not in her. She's a diamond.